Welcome to People Tech, the podcast of the HCM Technology Report. I'm Mark Feffer, and I'm here today at the HR Technology Conference and Exposition, and I'm talking right now to Katherine Jones. And Katherine, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Sure, and thank you for having me. Well, I have an interesting background in that I was an academic. I was an academic dean for years before I went into high tech. And then from high tech, I went into being an analyst. I've been an analyst for over 20 years. I know I'm dating myself here. But one of the rare things about me as an analyst is I actually know technology from working in tech companies, which a lot of analysts don't.
Yeah, that's true. What are you seeing that's interesting here on the floor?
There's a lot of things. But first, what I really think is exciting is the vibe at this conference. There's a lot of activity. The booths are back, the people are back, and the buyers are back. Now, there's a lot of technology here that's got AI in it for the first time. And that's kind of interesting, too, because I'm not sure. Let's see what you think about this. I'm not sure how many of our buyers really understand what that means for them.
Oh, I think 90% of them don't.
Yeah, so it's kind of scary.
It's scary, but I think people like black boxes. They like having a problem go in and a solution come out.
Well, I'm not a black box person myself, so I would prefer that my buyers know what they're getting. And I think that's really incumbent on all of us who have AI in their products, like Fuel 50 does, which is great because I'm a proponent. But make sure that the customers understand what it is it actually does and how it does it for them.
Do you think we are making too much of AI, that we're trying to position this whole new kind of technology to an audience that really is more results-oriented and essentially doesn't care?
Well, I think the first thing is if you don't have a business problem that's solved by AI, you don't need AI. But when we look at the business problems that HR has today, and they're manifold, and many of them are things that a smarter system can help. Now, a few years ago, I was pulling together data from a company that was doing research on AI, and at that point, HR people said, we're kind of halfway. We've got like one toe in the water, but what we're looking for is office automation. We think it'll do our stuff that we do. We can offload faster and quicker, and that's not really what we need. Office automation, we kind of solved that, and AI isn't that. So I think it's one thing to clear up. But what it does do as a platform, I mean, no one in HR or anywhere else is going to go buy, I want to buy an AI. That isn't what it is. It's a infrastructure play. It's underneath things. So for the HR people, you'll never see it. You should never see it. There should be nothing about it that pops up into your visual framework at any point in time, unless something breaks. And then you need to know it's gone rogue. If suddenly you're hiring walruses for your job, you know that something has gone amok with your AI. But in general, it's just an infrastructure play, something to make the work that you do better, faster, but not just office automation. It's a way to make it smarter. And there's a lot of features about it, like chatbots, smart chatbots, and some are so much smarter than others. I'm sure we've all had some experience with some sort of a bot online where you leave the website or the mobile app in frustration because the thing is as dumb as a brick. But there are smart ones too.
It seems like the use of AI is sort of permeating everywhere, especially in HR. So let me combine that with a question on another topic, which is going to be about skills.
Good.
It's a huge concern of employers. You read more and more about things they're doing to improve their skill set.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this is really an issue?
Absolutely. if there's one issue, if we want to have the issue with all the stars, it's going to be where skills are right now in business. In business in general, I'm not going to say just in HR. This is a business issue, not just an HR issue. And it plays out in all sorts of different ways. First one is, let's assume that you need a new person for a job. And people used to say, okay, the job is defined as this, and then we look at credentials to get there. Whether or not those credentials equal the ability to do the job. Okay, that's just dumb. I think we'd all agree to that. But when we look at what skills the people need to actually complete the job, then we're looking at something totally different. And we can look at that in different ways. One is, you already have the skills. People neglect the number of skills that are all over their organization where a job could be done. And maybe you don't need another person. Maybe, I have some skills, you have some skills, we put them together and the task at hand can be done without all sorts of new people. And people don't even stop to think that. They just go hire somebody who may or may not be able to actually do the job.
Well, there's a lot of talk, or I've heard people talk, about the idea of you can build skills, you can buy skills, or you can borrow skills.
Right.
Which I think neatly encapsulates the whole challenge. But when you think about it, if you're talking about a large company, that must be a really difficult balance to achieve because you've got so many people you have to kind of orchestrate the present skills with needed skills with coming skills. How are companies doing that?
Badly. Okay. Let's not be that flip, I guess. Oddly enough, I have been talking about this for years, and I remember being on stage at HR Tech, like the second one, talking about who gets to pick people, and this was looking at contingent workers. Their skills, when you need a skill on demand, not a skill that you need forever and ever. But that was done by procurement people who know nothing about people. I'm sorry if you're a procurement person, but that isn't how it should be done. So that HR should be responsible, or somebody should be responsible for everybody. And I call this the goddess of people. And the people goddess should be responsible for all the people in the entire organization. And that goddess should be able to say, we need these skills. We need them where, and we need them for how long. And do we build them? Do we train people that we already have, which is a great need right now. There's so much more need for upskilling the people we have than there is for just going off and hiring more random people and then realizing they may or may not really have the skills that you need. And usually the people you have are a lot more invested in your company than the people you don't know, just as a thought. So that's my thought on that.
So where are employees in all this?
Well, employees, as we know from the millennials, when they came on board, they want to see growth. They want to know that their first job isn't a dead-end job. And if we look at people across the whole spectrum of working, who wants to be in a dead-end job? It's got to have some sort of a growth path, a career path, a knowledge path of some sort. And it doesn't need to be the male boy who's going to grow up to be the CEO. That is an oddity, probably. But looking at people who can do different things. Why? Not just because they want to, but because you need them to do that. You need to know that if push comes to shove in your organization, you've got skills somewhere that you can bank on. So the continual training of people and upskilling of people is something that should start on day one and happen forever.
I'd like to shift gears a little bit and talk about the industry and the show.
Okay.
When you walk around the expo hall, are you seeing any themes that are new?
Actually, yes. This year, there's a lot of the little booths with new vendors. And I think that is one of the most exciting things for the industry because we've seen the somewhat established vendors have bigger booths. And we've seen there's a lot of startups here. And startups are great because they have good ideas, generally. I mean, I'm going to say generally, there's a lot of startups that shouldn't have started. But the time you actually get to be here on this floor show, you've probably got a decent idea. And the nice thing about that is whether that new technology is incorporated into a larger company at some point, standalone, merged with something, that isn't the point. The point is that the vendors here are continually to develop new and exciting ways of looking at the world of work. And I think that's fabulous.
When you look at that and you look at the other vendors here, say background, where do you think this is all going? I mean, every year it seems there's a new, theme or a new language about what's being done, who's going to do it, why it's being done. Do you see that here?
I think kind of. What I think should happen next, my pie in the sky, is that the whole of HR should just be tipped upside down on its head. Why? Because I'm sure that there's other ways of looking at the world of work that we haven't even thought about yet. And the world of skills and the world of talent in our organizations. I just know that there's something new that'll be coming up, year after year. Right now, which Josh's term, talent intelligence. That's a good term. Mm-hmm. Well, we'll be intelligent this year, and next year we'll be more intelligent, but maybe we'll be intelligent about something else. Now, theoretically, if you were perfect, here's one of my thoughts, my theoretical thought. Let's say that managers were super, that your manager was absolutely the best. Now, unfortunately, that doesn't usually happen because, as we know, when people leave an organization, it's usually because of their manager. But let's assume that we had really good managers who could really manage their people. Maybe you don't need all of HR because maybe those managers would know what's compliant and not. And then all you'd need is an ombudsman. If there's a problem, you need somebody to go to. Always need somebody to go to. But that's pretty unlikely. And since we're at an HR conference and we're all HR vendors and we all work with HR, there's probably not going to be a very popular thought. But theoretically, if we could manage people correctly and well and passionately and compassionately, maybe we don't need all this.
Do you think, last question is do you think that the vendors and their customers are really in sync about the products that are being put out there?
Okay, so this is a truism. First, analysts are usually 7 years ahead of the vendors, and the vendors are usually 7 years ahead of the customers.
Okay.
So, we can talk pie in the sky from the analyst point of view because, we see the big picture. And the vendors are, of course, they're building new things. Look at the pandemic. Every vendor out there was adding AI to a talent acquisition product or something. Vendor innovation didn't stop. And of course, they're ahead of customers. They're always ahead of customers. So that's what we have to close those little gaps forever. It's just the way it is.
Katherine, thanks very much. It's nice to meet you, and it's nice to talk with you.
You're so welcome. Thank you.